All right, it was another Sunday, now 2 Sundays in a row that turned out to be a shunday for the Indian cricket team. Losing 2 games in a row isn't uncommon in sport, but it's the manner in which the men in blue lost that, and that has left its legions of fans disappointed. Because for many, just the way the Virat Kohli-led team walked onto the field with fear written large on their faces, then the number of changes that they made all signal that this wasn't the team that's performed to its best when under the pump. That's exactly what we'd be talking about in the next half an hour. Joining us will be our cricket analyst in Sunil Gavaskar. We'll also get you some sort of reactions from Ross Taylor, who joined us yesterday, as well as Pragyan Oja, as well as just look back at how the Indian team really, as I said, under pressure versus New Zealand. Let's quickly show you what the point table looks like at the moment, because the Indian team is now languishing at the bottom of the table as far as that group's point table is concerned. Mathematically, India still has a chance of making it to the semi-final, but practically you'd have to say that there is no chance for the Indian team to make it that far, because for that not only will they have to win all the 3 remaining games, but they would also have to hope that Afghanistan do them a favor and beat New Zealand. That would then make a scenario in which all 3 teams would be tied on the same number of points. I'm talking about Afghanistan, New Zealand and India. And then net run rate will come into play. Net run rate might help the Indian team also, because remember, they have 2 lesser opponents to face right at the end, that in Scotland and Namibia. So that is something that they can control. As I was talking about the Indian team, now the Indian team entered the T20 World Cup as the tournament favourites. Now, after 2 losses in 2 games, they're virtually out of the tournament. What's made matters worse is the manner in which the Indian team lost to New Zealand. The batsmen seem bogged down by pressure, the bowlers listless and ineffective. The question now is, where does the Indian white ball team go from here?
Morale bruised, confidence shattered and hopes up in smoke. Team India is in a trough so deep that it will take quite an effort to get them out of it. If one thought that the loss to Pakistan was just an aberration, Virat Kohli and his men in blue have proved everyone wrong. Strategically and technically on both fronts, they were found wanting, with the team bereft of ideas and confidence.
Quite bizarre. I mean, I thought we were, to be very honest, very brutal up front. I don't think we were brave enough with the bat or ball. I mean, with the ball, obviously, we didn't have much to play with. But we were just not brave enough in our body language when we entered the field. And New Zealand had better intensity, better body language, and they created pressure on us from the first over onwards, really, and continued that through the innings. And every time we felt like we want to take a chance, we lost a wicket.
A loss to Pakistan led India to make changes in the 11, and that one change forced them to overhaul the entire top order. India's regular opener in all 3 formats, Rohit Sharma, was pushed to the number 3 spot.
And then he completely missed it.
Many though believe that it could have been to avoid him from facing Trent Boult because of his poor record against the left-arm pacers, who can bring the ball into the right-hander. Virat's own form hasn't been that great in the last couple of years, and his runs no longer guarantee India a victory. Loss to Pakistan, the most recent example. India's selection blunders have often cost the team dearly in the past, and eyebrows were raised when India left behind Yuzi from their T20 World Cup squad.
Beautiful delivery to bowl.
The leg spinners are ruling the roost in the UAE during this competition. Leg spinners Wanindu Hasaranga, Rashid Khan, Adam Zampa, Adil Rashid, Ish Sodhi and Tabrez Shamsi, all proving to be the decisive factors for their respective teams, with 36 wickets between the 6 of them. Unfortunately, the best leg spinner that India has isn't even in the UAE, because he's getting ready to play the Syed Mushtaq Ali Trophy, the domestic T20 competition in India.
Incredible when they get together.
Hardik Pandya can't bowl, but still makes it to the Indian team. How?
Straight into the hands of Martin Gupton.
In the Pakistan game, Bhuvneshwar Kumar, despite his extended run of poor form with the ball, starts ahead of Shardul Thakur, the leading wicket taker for CSK in the UAE leg. How? Former England captain Michael Vaughan has often come up with some absurd statements in the past, but for a change, he may be right when he says that this Indian team is still stuck in 2010 as far as T20 cricket is concerned. Jasprit Bumrah pointed out that the players are mentally fatigued because of the non-stop cricket in bio-bubbles for the last 6 months. But they did get a decent enough break with their families after the Indian leg of the IPL was suspended. They earned themselves a 21-day vacation in the UK after the loss in the World Test Championship final, and then during the England tour, the players were not in the bio bubble before the Indian team was hit by COVID cases. The defeats will surely hurt fans and the team, but this still could be a reality check. Just like what happened after India's early exit in the 2007 World Cup. Sports Bureau, India Today.
As I mentioned right at the start of the show, losing 2 games is not unusual. It's in the manner that the Indian team lost that's raising questions. At the moment, we had Ross Taylor, the former New Zealand captain, analyze India's loss, and he described the attitude and the approach of the Indian team in that encounter as quote-unquote timid.
A few of the players who I feel are world-class players sort of, they walked out to bat with a little bit of a slump, hunched over and looking towards the ground. And I think, quite often that's a sign that there's a few nerves, and I think it showed when they were out there that they were just a little bit timid. And 2020 is a game to express yourself and have fun. And I felt that just a little bit placid in the way they began and weren't as busy as they probably normally are.
Right, that was Ross Taylor right after the game yesterday. Joining us on the show now, not just a legend of the sport in Sunil Gavaskar, but also, as many consider, the voice of Indian cricket. Sunil bhai, firstly, you heard from Ross there, and I've heard many other experts talk about that timid approach that the Indian team had. As I said, you can lose a few games. What did you make of the body language that you saw of the Indian team when they went down to the field? There was pressure written large on their faces, the dropping of the shoulders. Was this very uncommon with this team, which has made comebacks in the past?
Well, first and foremost, you've got to congratulate New Zealand for the way they played, because they didn't allow India the freedom to play what you would call is their natural game. Yes, you could argue that maybe Rohit Sharma should have opened the batting, but look at the way New Zealand bowled. I mean, that first ball, he should have been out for a duck, in which case the thinking that he is not very comfortable against the left-handers bowling over the wicket, left-hand quicks bowling over the wicket would have been proven true. But the fact of the matter is that having lost to Pakistan had certainly demoralized the Indian team. Look, for the last 12 World Cup events, India hadn't lost to them. And suddenly they lost, and they lost very badly. And I think that certainly dented their self-confidence considerably. And what they needed against New Zealand was to get off to a good start. But in the first 6 overs again, they lost 2 wickets. I've been saying that the teams that win the power play, both the power plays, go on to win the match. And that's exactly what happened, because New Zealand won their bowling power play, and New Zealand won their batting power play as well. So yes, I think when you lose early wickets, there's a little bit of tension. The body language will not be great, and that was sadly the case yesterday as well.
So, did you notice, we heard this from Virat Kohli, he said, listen, we like to shut out the outside noise, we can isolate ourselves when it comes to all the criticism, all the talk that's happening outside. What then prompted the things like, Rohit Sharma for any other team wouldn't have batted any lower than as an opener. This talk of that left arm pacer, all this talk was from the outside. All this pressure of India losing to New Zealand was from the outside. Did you get a feeling that they did allow that outside noise to affect their decisions?
Well, the fact of the matter is that this outside world, is not soundproofed. If it was soundproofed, then you certainly wouldn't hear any noise at all. But this world, I mean, it's not a question of your room or your house or your den, which you can have soundproofed. The world outside is soundproof. Somebody or the other is going to be saying something or the other, which you are going to hear. So to say that you're shutting out the outside noise is easy, because what it tells you is that we don't care what you say, which is fair enough. That is, which is understandable that they don't want to be influenced by what has happened. But sometimes, an outside perspective does help. An outside perspective where you can be, able to consider that, look, maybe there is some sense in what the outside perspective is. And maybe at that particular point of time, sometimes you get into that little cocoon and where you say, no, we don't want. But again, more than anything else, over the last two matches, I just want to say that Pakistan and New Zealand were absolutely brilliant. It just didn't allow India to play the game that we all know that they're capable of. And you've got to give credit to them more than to try and, put our players down. It happens. So often our players have also done the same thing. Our teams have not allowed the opposition to play their natural game. And this time they're sort of,
right,
wasting their own medicine.
Right, Sunny, because you talk about, it can happen. The other team plays well. But the issue here is really, that lack of clarity that we saw with the Indian team. As I said, these are things they wouldn't have done under normal circumstances. Virat Kohli would have never not batted at number 3. Rohit Sharma would have not opened. Where does this lack of clarity that comes from, which is very evident from the outside? Is it a case of too many cooks because you've got a captain in waiting, you've got a coach, you've got a mentor, too many cooks then?
The only person who has to take a call is the captain. Yes, he will listen to everybody. That is what good captains do. Good captains listen not just to the senior members, but sometimes even to the junior most member. Somebody who's making his debut, they listens to him and then tries to absorb what he's saying, and then sponge it in, and then take a call. And look, we have got the benefit of hindsight. And if Ishan Kishan had batted brilliantly, had blazed away to a 60 or a 70, we all would have said, oh, what a fantastic move to send Ishan Kishan up the order. But most importantly, what that did, it didn't come off. Yes, so that's why we are talking the way we are. But what it did was it actually sent a signal to New Zealand that Rohit Sharma is not keen to face Trent Boult. Now, that's not the kind of signal you want to send to the opposition. And then eventually he did come in and he could have got out first ball, but he was lucky to survive, but wasn't able to capitalize on it. So yes, there may be too many people in that change room, and there's nothing wrong with that many people, because the more information you get, the better it is. But to assimilate it and to take a decision has always got to be the captain's call.
All right, you can have too many people, as Sunil Gavaskar says there. But if Rohit Sharma is batting at number 3, whether that is on his own accord or not, the fact is the buck stops with the captain. So questions then will be asked of the captain itself. Because when you win, all the accolades also go to the captain. Sunil Gavaskar, thanks so much for joining us. That unfortunately is all the time that we had with him. You're watching Battle of Champions, but news continues on India Today.